Namaskar. Welcome to this new session. We are to commence to understand the Asamprajnat Samadhi of Itaresham. Itaresham means those who are not Devas, not Devanam, not Prakritilinanam, but Itaresham. Because Bhava Pratyaya Samadhi was mentioned in the earlier sutra, which was meant for Devanam and Prakritilinanam. Now, the others, those who have to adhere to means of yoga, which Yoga Anushasanam of Patanjali mentions. So, the samadhi that was so far considered, Asamprajnat Samadhi, that was considered is not part of Patanjali Yoga Anushasanam. Because they have Bhava Pratyaya, they get it by birth. Or they have a samadhi which is going to have Uttara Bandha Koti, which is going to give bondage subsequently. Now, we are not looking for a bondage which is subsequent. We are already in bondage. So we are the ones we are in bandha. We have been in bandha. It is not that sometimes we are liberated and now today we are in bandha. We are all the time under bandha for time without beginning. From that time onwards, from time without beginning, we have been in bandha. So Itaresham means the rest of us, all of us. So it is therefore in Vyasa's language is called Upaya Pratyaya. Patanjali doesn't have this express terminology of Upaya Pratyaya. Vyasa has introduced us to this terminology, which is Upaya Pratyaya Asamprajnata Samadhi. That means we adhere to means. It is founded on our adherence to means of yoga. And our means of adherence of yoga will finally culminate into Asamprajnata Samadhi, provided we persist and persist in the right way, in the right path. So, the Upaya Pratyaya Samadhi, Asamprajnat Samadhi, has been characterized as Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi Prajna, Purvaka. It is preceded by Shraddha, Virya, Samadhi, Smriti, Samadhi Prajna. It is constituted by Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi Prajna. It is raised up, composed of, constituting of Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi Prajna. Now these words with which we are actually familiar, we know what is Shraddha. But at the outset, let me tell you, we should not get caught in the maya of literal meanings here. The literal meanings will be misleading. It doesn't mean that it is with Shraddha as we know what it is, or it is with Virya as we know what it is, or it is with Smriti as we know what it is. And Samadhi Prajna, to great extent we do not know it, or we do not know it as much as we know Shraddha, Virya, Smriti. So we should first keep ourselves away from literal meanings, popular meanings, the known meanings to us, by literal meaning of the terms. These are technical terms. At the outset, let me tell you that these are technical terms. So it doesn't mean that the yoga which is adhered to by Shraddha, that is belief, that is their faith, dedication, etc., which is a literal meaning. And then Virya, which is valor, which is power, which is strength, which is courage, or Smriti. For us, it is memory, good memory. So, these are not the meanings here. So, these should be set aside. Literal meaning should be set aside. The first meaning is that it should be with upaya. There must be adherence to upaya. Now you should recall that preceding the samadhi topic, we went to means of yoga. Abhyasa vairagyambhyam tannirodha. So these are the means. Abhyasa vairagya. All efforts or all prescribed efforts to be steady the mind, and all prescribed efforts to dispassionate the mind from vishayas, drishtanushravika vishayas, vishaya vitrushna, drishtanushravika vishaya vitrushna. So any endeavor, any effort as prescribed by tradition of yoga, if there is adherence to it, then that is the body of upaya, that is the means, because we have been told what are the means of restraint of chitta vrittis. Then what are these means? It will be naive to believe that somebody taking up practice of morality, ethicality, postures, breath control, breath regulation, sensory control, or sensory withdrawal, abstraction, what is called as Ashtanga Yoga. That will be very naive to take it that way. So what are the means of yoga? Broadly, now listen carefully, broadly it should be understood very open, complete, profound, full-heartedly embracing the values given by yajna, dana, tapas. These are values you should recall. Yajna, dana, tapas are the values. So they should be valuable for us. They should be invaluable for us. And we must inculcate and imbibe the values which the Yajna, Dana, Tapa principles are propounding, expounding. If you recall, or you should recall, that this is one of the very fundamental messages which comes in Bhagavad Gita, because they purify the mind. Yajna, Dana, Tapas purify the man. Pavanani Manishinaha. So these principles are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the texts of Yoga Shastra, one of the leading texts of yoga. Yajna, Dana, Tapas. These are the ones who purify the mankind, purify the humanness in us. So adherence to those principles is upaya. All that we will do to inculcate, imbibe, understand, hear, comprehend, dwell over these values will be means. So Yajna, Dana, Tapas. So it circumscribes quite an amount of practices. Kaya, Vacha, Manasa. Kaya, Vacha, Manasa, Shwasa. Many practices are there. Now you must imagine these practices which are Kaya, Vacha, Manasa, Shwasa for inculcating Yajna Dana Tapa principles, practicing Yajna Dana Tapas principle, and embracing and adhering and uh, predominantly practicing these principles. Then it also implies that, therefore, for these to be inculcated, what do we do, what should we do, what we may do, what we shall do is Satsanga. Satsanga means Satya Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Sattva Sangha. That is Sat Sangha. So for Sat Sangha we will have to do so many things, which is again Kaya, Vacha, Manasa, and then Shwasa. One may wonder why I am bringing Shwasa here. So, therefore, let me give you a little explanation here. Usually, we think all practices are accomplished if you do with your mind, body, mind, senses. You think that is total involvement. Now, body, mind, senses, these are all edifies on our karma, baggage of karma. They are all tainted forces, tainted by our karmic background, our ancestral background, our genetic background, our genealogical background, our ethnic background. So many gravities are working on it. So many gravities work on our Kaya, Vacha, Manas, the three instruments, our body, mind, and senses, or even what you call as soul. That's a pseudo adhyatmic concept, the soul. Because soul is nothing but part of psyche. So, the breath is one, which only student of yoga will understand. Those who practice yoga will understand. Those who practice classical yoga will understand. Breath is such an agency which doesn't have delimitations. There is no class, caste, creed, gender, status, age, condition to breath. While the body has, the mind has, the senses have, they all have these delimitations. They all have these shackles. They all are under the gravity. They all have these delimiting conditions such as caste, class, creed, race, age, gender, status, state, conditions. Now the breath is only one which doesn't have this. That is why you might now recall that I've been telling you that the breath is a very major agent in yogic pursuits and yogic practices, because there is no karmic background to the agency of breath, but there is a lot of karmic background to agency of mind, perhaps complete governance and complete gravity, the karmic gravity on body, whatever you might do physically, there is that gravity which subsumes the entire body matter. So also the mind is subsumed by karmic baggage, karmic gravities. But the breath is not that, which has such gravities. It is only unique instrument. That is why yoga has given emphasis and stress on the breath. The breath doesn't have caste, class, creed, gender, status, stage, ethnicity, belief, etc., etc. So, that is why I have been now saying Kaya, Vacha, Manasa, Shvasa. So, a student of yoga will easily realize that we are using the agency of body, we are using the agency of mind, we are using the agency of senses, we are using the agency of intelligence, we are using the agency of consciousness in our yoga, but more significantly, we are using the agency of breath. Breath is such a vital instrument, and it not only is used, but it spearheads all the forces. It will spearhead the entire team of body, mind, senses, organs, psyche, consciousness, etc., etc. And then under its leadership, they work totally differently. Associated body, associated mind, associated senses, associated psyche, associated consciousness work totally differently under the leadership of the breath. So therefore I said Shwasa, Kaya, Vacha, Manasa, Shwasa. So there must be such a composite endeavor and effort for Sat Sangha, Sattva Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Satya Sangha. Then there is that aspect of Sadhana Sangha. Sadhana means all kinds of practices. The practices are by associated body, associated mind, associated senses, associated psyche, consciousness. So there are sadhanas of Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, perhaps even Mahakarana Sharira. So there are practices of all these, and you should now recall. I will not recapitulate here because we have quite extensively dealt upon the Sharira Trayas, Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. And of course, and we will be dealing with it as we proceed in pursuit of Yoga Sutras. There will be greater elaboration coming, but let me not elaborate now here. I have to whatever extent I have elaborated, that is sufficient to crystallize the sadhana. Kaya, Vacha, Manasa sadhana. Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira sadhana. So sadhana sangha. And then Shastra sangha. So Sat sangha, Sadhana sangha, Shastra sangha. I have delineated on it sufficiently, which can come as a foundation to crystallize what is the upaya here. What are the means here? So one who takes steps and measures with the scheme given by classical yoga, ancient yoga, timeless yoga, by way of Sat Sangha, Sadhana Sangha, Shastra Sangha, that is also part of upaya. So then Sadhana Sangha, you know how elaborate it is. Annamaya Sharira, Pranamaya Sharira, Manomaya Sharira, Vijnanamaya Sharira. And primarily Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya. Essentially Vijnanamaya, there is no sadhana of Vijnanamaya Kosha or for Vijnanamaya Kosha. So the sadhana, understand the whole radius of sadhana, how much it circumscribes. It is not just asana pranayam. It is not just asana pranayam and japa. It is not just asana pranayam, japa and dhyana. It is not just asana pranayam, japa and dhyana and meditation. as is the indoctrination for people of our generations. So that is upaya. Then satvik ahar, vihar, achar, vichar, distancing from rajasic, tamasic ahar, vihar, achar, vichar, embracing satvik ahar, vihar, achar, vichar, the quadrate, that is also upaya. So we have actually delineated on these basic practices or foundational practices of yoga. I just want you to recall all that. That is sufficient foundation for you to really understand what is upaya. What is upaya pratyaya? What is that asamprajñat samadhi which is caused by taking recourse to upayas. Upayas means the measures, the means. So, if you understand the upaya with a magnifying lens, you will identify these components, that there is satsanga, sadhana sanga, shastra sanga, yajna, dana, tapas, and satvik, ahar, vihar, achar, vichar. The sadhana, kaya, vacha, manasa, shwasa. So you will identify, once you look through the concept of upaya from under a magnifying lens, it will magnify you all these factors. So that is actually upaya pratyaya. So there are many practices for us to be actually carrying out on our own. Then there are many practices in Adhyatma particularly, which also gives us a outline to practices broadly. Atma va are drashtavya, shrotavya, mantavya, nidhisyasitavya. We need to have a lot of things to be observed, seen, discerned, visualized. Atma va are drashtavya. But that is not all. We have to take a next step as well, that is shrotavya. There is much to hear about yoga. There is much to hear and understand about yoga. As much as, or perhaps not that much, see and understand. So see and understand and comprehend. Hear, listen and understand and comprehend. Mantavya, have a thought process, deliberative thought process, reflective thought process, etc. And then realize. And nididhyasitavya, at least super mind faculties, super brain faculties, and then understand yoga. So, classically, we would be instructed about this. Upaya means druk sadhana, shravya sadhana, manana sadhana, chintana sadhana, and nididhyasana sadhana, a contemplative thought process. Deeply internalized thought process can be understood as nididhyasanam, although there is much more meaning to nididhyasanam. So these are the upaya pratyaya. These are being summed up in the words which have technical meaning in the sutra, which are Shraddha, Virya, Samadhi, Samadhi Prajna. That means the wisdom ensuing Samadhi processes. So that is what is Upaya Pratyaya Asamprajñat Samadhi. The second type of two major types of Asamprajñat Samadhi, because the first major type had again two subtypes, Videhanam, Devanam and Prakrutilinanam. So two types. Now the second major is Upaya Pratyaya, which is Shraddha, Virya, Shruti, Samadhi, Prajna, Purvaka, preceded by all this. That is Upaya Pratyaya Asamprajnat Samadhi. Again, being Asamprajnat Samadhi, it will be, now you should recall, it will go through that process which was mentioned as quite mandatory process. Sthula pranayam, sukshma pranayam, pranavatmak pranayam, then pratyahar, the pratyahar, and then dharana dhyan samadhi. It is uninterrupted flow, you should recall. While we were dealing with samprajnata samadhi, I repeatedly told you about that the process is uninterrupted. In case it is interrupted, we have to get to starting point and again relaunch the practices. It is always launched with sthula pranayam, and then the next stage is sukshma pranayam, then pranavatmak pranayam, etc. So this will be by that process. That means vitarkanugata, vicharanugata, anandanugata, asmitanugata, and then virama pratyaya. That is how the samadhi will be coming in. Asamprajnat samadhi will come with that route, path. That is vitarkanugata samprajnat, vicharanugata samprajnat, anandanugata samprajnat, asmitanugata samprajnat, and then virama pratyaya abhyasa upaya pratyaya asamprajnat samadhi. Now, all this is described in the predicates with some technical meanings to it in the word Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna. And therefore, Vyasa adds to this sutra, addenda to the sutra, Upaya Pratyaya Samadhi, Upaya Pratyaya Yoginam Bhavati. So if you consider Vyasa's comment, the sutra will be little more elaborate. Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna, Purvaka, Itaresham, Upaya Pratyayo, Yoginam Bhavati. Those who are yogis, those who are going in the path of becoming a yogi, for them, this is how it will happen. So what is then Shraddha here? Do you mean to say that this should be done with dedication, fervor, belief, faith, etc.? Well, that is implied. Why yoga? Anything that you are doing, and if it is righteous means for something, it should be done with belief and faith and dedication. Why only yoga? And therefore, the literal meaning is really not valid here. What is Shraddha? Vyasa explains it out. Shraddha chetasaha samprasadaha. Shraddha is samprasada for chitta. The chitta must be prasadita. And you should recall, I told you that yogi adheres to chitta prasadana means which are mentioned later as part of upaya pratyaya in the chitta parikarma topic, which is going to come later in samadhi pad, starting from maitri, karuna, mudita, upeksha, etc. Then vishayavati va pravrutti utpanna, vitaraga vishayam va chittam, swapna nidra jnanalambanam va, yatha vyamata dhyanadva. So they give chitta prasada. That's why they are called chitta prasadana measures. So you Shraddha chetasaha samprasadaha. So this blessedness will come through all those chitta parikarma. The yoga will actualize into higher aspects of it more prominently because of this blessedness. Yoga opens out, it is an endowment which gives blessedness to chitta, not the mind, but chitta. And that is what is being denoted by the word Shraddha. Sahi jananiva kalyanim yoginam pati. See, she, the Shraddha here, this kind of blessedness, the blessings which come through the practices of yoga, these blessings are for you and me, they are impetus. Therefore, we want to continue our yoga. But for a yogi, Janani Iva, this Shraddha is like Janani, is like mother, Kalyani, for our well-being, absolute well-being. So she is like Janani Iva Kalyani Yoginam Pati. Means she protects yogis. The blessing coming from yoga not only give us fruit of the nature of yoga, but also protects us in our path of yoga. In order that we should not get derailed, the Shraddha is something which is yoginam pati, which protects those on the path of yoga. It like mother is not there just to give love to her child. Mother primarily is there to protect the child, because the child needs protection. Child needs love and etc., no doubt about it, but the child needs protection, which is primarily coming from mother. This protection will not come from others. Motherly protection, motherly love. So yogi is like a child of yoga. Once you embrace yoga, yoga doesn't become your master. Yoga becomes your mother, Kalyani Janani. And then she will protect us, not only give us yoga, not only give us nourishment of yoga, not only do the nurturing in the field of yoga, but she will protect us. And that is so important, basically because yoga is of several lives. It is not accomplished in one life. You and me and the commoners, we will not accomplish yoga in one life. It has to be carried out over several lives. Our mother is only for one life. In another life, we'll have another mother. Mother is only for lifetime. Now this mother is not for just lifetime. This is not biological mother. The yoga coming as a mother, this is like which will protect us even through our transmigrations. It will ensure that we are in the path of yoga, life after life after life, because aneka janma samsiddhau tato yati param gatim is what Bhagavad Gita tells us about the path of yoga. And therefore we need a mother. Apart from biological mother, we need mother in yoga. Yoga as mother, so that she will protect us. Like mother protects us throughout the life. As long as the mother is living, she will protect us. Even after mother is perhaps passed away, still she will protect us. But protect us for lifetime, because in next life we are going to get another mother. But this mother is going to protect us throughout our transmigrations. Once we embrace yoga, life after life after life after life, she is our mother. Yoga is our mother. Yoga is not our master as much as we think. It is more a mother. And how? Kalyani. Not only Janani, not only mother, but Kalyani. Yoginam Pati. And this is very much required. That is this kind of, that means it gets into our samskars, and samskars, they transmigrate. Samskars transmigrate with us. They don't betray us on the point of death, but they come with us. So yoga gets into samskars, and these samskars are kalyani, janani iva kalyani. That is referred to as mother. The body of samskars which in yoga gives, those are referred to as janani, mother, and kalyani for our fortitude. And then this Shraddha is prasadika. It's not only samskars. It is not only samskars, because so many samskars will be coming with us. Even the bad samskars will be coming with us. It's not that we leave behind the bad samskars, only take good samskars. But these are prasadika samskars. Yoga samskars are such that they have this prasadika nature. They are like prasada. The chitta prasada. The chitta prasada will transmigrate. So that is Shraddha. That's the technical meaning. So, as a mother, the Shraddha will protect us. Now, the technical meaning also has another facet here. तस्य हि श्रद्धानस्य विवेकार्थिनो वीर्यम उपजायते. So this Shraddha will engender virya. So this is not valor in the sense we understand valor in the form of courage, in the form of power, in the form of prowess. We know only these powers which are in body and mind. That there is power, there is prowess, there is courage, etc. But this is the one which comes from the motherly samskars of yoga. The samskars which are instilled by yoga, from that comes the viryam. From that comes courage. And courage is required for any practice to be persistent. Why is it that we do not persist with so many practices? It is because we lack with courage. So, from the Shraddha, this is, the faith is not which generates virya, but this Shraddha, technically described Shraddha, will engender viryam. And this is so important for Vivekarthi, because yogi is Vivekarthi in formative periods, in formative stages. He is Vivekarthi. We know Vidyarthi of yoga. But Vidyarthi of yoga will become Vivekarthi, seeking Viveka. And therefore, it will give that strength and power and resoluteness and potent instrumentations to pursue the Vivekartha, Vivekarthabhyasa, Vivekabhyasa. And that actually has reference to dharana of Ashtanga Yoga. So dharana is going to come because of this Shraddha. Not just strong practice, serious practice, dedicated practice, uncompromised practices, regular practices. This Shraddha is so important in the form of samskars. Then only it will escalate to viryam. And this viryam is not valor, as its technical meaning tells us. It is dharana. It is dharana rupa utsaha. It is that kind of spiritedness, persistence to get launched into dharana, which is the first of antaranga sadhana. Because you should recall, the first 5 of Ashtanga Yogas are Bahiranga sadhanas, and next 3 of the Ashtanga sadhanas are Antaranga sadhanas. So it needs that courage, power, potency to move into Antaranga sadhana. it needs a kind of utsaha. That utsaha means samarthya, means valor. That is the valor, and not the valor that we are familiar with, which is in the muscles of the body and muscles of the mind. So, virya should be taken to mean as dharana of the Ashtanga Yoga. Then you can now crystallize what is viryam. And something that gives you dharana is to be called as shraddha, and not literal meaning of it to be taken here. So, shraddha virya. The next one is samupajata viryasya smritim upatishtate. So it is not memory. What will come out of dharana, tell me? If it is Ashtanga dharana, what is going to come as a fruit of it, consequence of it, effect of it? It is going to be dhyana. Dharana gives birth to dhyana. So samupajata viryasya smriti upatishtate. The smriti comes to mention dhyana, the seventh limb of Ashtanga Yoga. This smriti is not smriti, memory. This smriti is dhyana. Dhyana is also based on a smriti. Dhyana is a smriti flow, continuum in smriti, which is of superior class, sublime class, cosmic class. So that is persistence. Dhyana is persistence, which we will come to know later when we consider dhyana, the seventh limb of Ashtanga Yoga. So samupajata viryasya smriti upatishtate. Dhyana shakti, dhyana potential, dhyana power, dhyana credentials will be attained by virya. Shruti upasthane cha chittam anakulam samadhiyate. And when this dhyana comes up, what is the offspring of dhyana? The offspring of dharana is dhyana, offspring of dhyana is samadhi. So, samadhiyate, it will give presence to samadhi, it will give rise to samadhi. The chittam anakulam, that means without obstructions, without impediments, the chitta will proceed into the phase of samadhi. Samahita chittasya prajna viveka upavartate. Suppose yogi gets samadhi, what is the outcome of it? The samadhi generates samadhi prajna, viveka khyati. So samadhi engenders samprajnana, you should recall. So that is samadhi prajna. That is the prajna which comes out of samadhi is called samadhi prajna. That is why the word samprajnana, samprajnayate iti samprajnata samadhi. So that is prajna viveka. Samahita chittasya prajna viveka upavartate is the mention in Vyasa's commentary. Yena yathavat vastu janati. And therefore, yogi starts realizing the things as they essentially are. Not as they appear, not as they are, but as they essentially are. So, samahita chittasya prajna viveka upavartate. Yena yathavat vastu janati. Then yogi realizes the things as they essentially are, as they quintessentially are. That's why it is called samprajnana. That is why this is samprajnana samadhi. So that's why here is the testification for you to understand when I have said that samprajnat samadhi lands into asamprajnat samadhi, or samprajnat samadhi means abhyasa purva aspect of the definition. So that is how samprajnata comes for abhyasa purvaka in the sutra of asamprajnat samadhi. Virama pratyabhyasa purvaka samskara shesho anyaha. Abhyasa purvaka. What is that abhyasa? Samprajnata. Where येन यथावत वस्तु जानाति, being samprajnana, being sampragnata prajna, sampragnata samadhi prajna, tad abhyasa tad vishayach vairagyat asampragnata samadhi bhavati, and from that ensues asampragnata samadhi. The here is the testification for the statement made earlier that sampragnat samadhi itself leads yogi into asampragnat samadhi. It is not altogether different class of samadhi. Sampragnat itself becomes transcendent asampragnata. So that's how asampragnata of upaya pratyaya is preceded by entire scheme of sampragnata samadhi, which we have seen earlier. So, this is how Upaya Pratyaya Samadhi, Asampragnata Samadhi is to be understood. Now, this Samadhi processes, all these processes, we have seen Satsanga, Sadhana Sangha, Shastra Sangha, adherence to Yajna Dana Tapas, getting convinced by Yajna Dana Tapas, practicing according to Yajna Dana Tapa principle, and then the Ahar Vihar Achar Vichar. We should understand that they all depend upon intensities. If you are more intense in those practices, then what caliber of yogi will you be? If you have very mild adherence to these principles, what kind of yogi will you be? So there will be mild, middle, intense adherences. Is that right? We can adhere to these principles, we can embrace these principles either with mild intensity or great intensity, or with in a very mild way or in a very intense way. So, this is a kind of enunciation to the next sutra. Our adherence to means can be very mild. Very mild means can be adhered to, minuscule satsanga, minuscule sadhana sangha, minuscule shastra sangha, minuscule yajna dharma principle, etc. We can take, small dosages. Then you will know that the journey will be prolonged. But if we take suitable dosage of it, then naturally there will be little rapidification. So therefore, then he gives enunciation to next topic of Yoga Sutra. Te khalu navayogino mrudu madhya adhimatropaya bhavanti. So there are these upayas. We have seen what are upayas just now. Now these upayas, these means can be of three calibers primarily. Mild means, that means mild abhyas sadhana, mild vairagya sadhana. Now you know what is encompassed by abhyas sadhana and vairagya sadhana. Then it can be middle intensity or it can be high intensity. So the means adhered to, the means might be mild, or the means might be middle, or means might be intense. So therefore we will now get a classification, because when we want to go in yoga, we naturally want yoga to happen as early as possible. Do you want very delayed fructification of yoga? No. When we are making an endeavor, we want to see that it happens quicker and quicker and quicker, or at right time, and not unduly delayed time. So therefore, how to adhere the means and which are the means? If you are taking recourse to mild means, what is the scope for you to graduate? But then you should understand that you should go from mild means to at some stage to middle means, and from middle means to some stage to more intense means. So it should be a proper dosage. And therefore now next topic is going to come out to explain how the Sampragnat Samadhi will be taking place in a quick time. So when that is mentioned, then you can also understand how it can be in quicker time, and then also how it can be in the quickest time. So if something is going to happen quick, and if you are looking for it, you want it to happen quicker. Then if you know that it is going to become quicker by this, then you want to see if it is possible that I can go for means whereby it will be reached in a quickest possible time. So quick, quicker, quickest, positive degree, comparative degree, superlative degree. So this is now coming to come up. The upayas, merely mentioning the means are not sufficient. You must adhere to suitable means, proper means. So that is the topic that is is going to be coming up in the next sutra, which is Tivra Samveganam Asannaha. Asanna, that means quick. So if there is Tivra Samvega, intensified intensity, then it will happen quicker. It is natural. So let's try to understand these aspects of upaya on one hand and samvega on the other hand. It's a very interesting topic that is going to come up. Just not adherence to means, but intensity. Say when we take recourse to say secondary school examination, we have the same standard text, but some of us come in flying colors. They become rank students. They come out as rank students, and some of us just pass. So what is the difference? The intensity of the student counts there. But howsoever you are intense, you won't be getting the certificate of higher secondary by passing secondary school examination, because the texts have limited things to offer. You can only come first rank, but you will not get graduation certificate by passing in first rank. If you pass your secondary school examination as a first rank, you won't get graduation certificate. It has limit to offer, but then the degree of it, that it can be first rank, or it can be first class, or it can be second class passing, or it can be third class passing. So some pass in pass class, some pass in second class, some pass in first class, some pass with distinction class, some pass in rank, first rank and second rank and third rank. However, it will not give you higher certificate. So upaya, how much the means will offer, is something that needs to be assessed and understood. That it cannot give me much more than this. I can come out with flying colors, but it will not give me a higher endowment. So the grades of upaya, the grades of means, and the grades of intensity. The grade of intensity gives the first rank result to a student. Everyone doesn't come as first rank. So it is because of intensity of studies. Somebody studies profoundly more and then comes in distinction. Somebody doesn't study so much and then just comes out with passing marks. So what is your intensity and what is intensity of upaya? These are two things to be considered, which are very, very fascinating. Anyway, that is not for this session. That is for onward sessions. So namaskar all of you.